They tried to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension. The dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Tonight on the Raw Feed.
It's speeding up every crisis. Together.
The Raw Feed starts now.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your Rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your Rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members-only community, behind-the-scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends.
What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
They told you it couldn't happen here. This is Gary Franchi, and you're watching the Raw Feed, where we don't filter the news. We deliver it straight, uncut, and unafraid. Today is November 20th, 2025, and what you're about to witness is a moment historians will study for generations. Not because of what might happen, because of what already did. Sitting members of the United States Congress released a video instructing American troops to defy the commander-in-chief. We reported on it when it happened. The Clinton family is now dodging subpoenas while Congress threatens prison. Staten Island is voting on secession from New York City because a communist mayor is about to take power. And the biggest insider trading scandal in American history just exploded into public view with bipartisan fury. And Trump's Justice Department is hunting a $15 million cartel kingpin while ICE arrests over 200 illegal aliens in a single weekend crackdown. Now let me take you back to November 20th, 1945, exactly 80 years ago today. That's when the Nuremberg trials began. Nazi leaders sat in the dock, facing justice for crimes against humanity. The world watched as the international community declared that following illegal orders was no defense. "I was just following orders" became the most infamous excuse in history, forever rejected by civilized society. The principle was clear. Soldiers have a duty to refuse illegal commands. But here's what they don't teach you in history class. That principle was designed to prevent atrocities, genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity. It was never meant to be weaponized by politicians to encourage military defiance against a duly elected president during peacetime. Yet today, 80 years after Nuremberg established those standards, Democrat lawmakers are invoking that very language to turn the U.S. military against Donald Trump. They're telling troops to refuse orders, but they won't name a single illegal order that Trump has given. When pressed 4 times by reporters, Representative Jason Crow couldn't answer because there are none. This is not about protecting soldiers from war crimes. This is about Democrats losing power and grasping for the only institution they think might resist: the armed forces. Tonight, we're bringing you 5 stories that the establishment prays you will ignore. A Democrat operation to fracture military loyalty. The Clinton-Epstein subpoena war reaching a breaking point. A New York City borough on the verge of secession. And the exposure of insider trading in Congress. It's made lawmakers richer than kings. And a global manhunt for a cartel kingpin while Trump's ICE machine tears through American cities, arresting hundreds. Buckle up. This is the Raw Feed, and we're going straight in. But first, let's welcome you to the show. We got Uriel and Patricia and Hermie Elf, Bill's Rules, Karen, Sure You, Deborah, Damon Gore, Miss Potted Kenny, Roger Thacker, Vicky. Who else is here? Karen, Heather Reeve, Brian. For some reason, the handles are showing instead of the names. I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen. Okay. Why does it look like you haven't started yet? Asked Glenn. Because we have just started. Wait till the screen is up. Reload. All right, let's see who else is here. Trevor and Cyber Chaos. Hermie, Damon. Everybody is filing in. Oh, YouTube changed it so that everyone's handles appear. Yeah, I see that now, yeah. Okay, any super chats out the gate? No, we have none. Well, let's just get right into it, Brian, because we got a lot of news to get to tonight. Something happened yesterday that has never occurred in American history. Not during the Civil War, not during Watergate, not during Vietnam. Elected lawmakers released a video telling U.S. soldiers to ignore orders from the president. The White House just called it sedition on camera. Trump is demanding arrests, and the lawmakers involved can't even name a single illegal order that they're warning troops about. This is not a drill. This is a constitutional crisis in real time, so here's what's at risk. If members of Congress can instruct the military to defy the commander-in-chief without evidence of illegal orders, the entire chain of command collapses. We're talking about the deliberate fracturing of civilian order over the armed forces. Senator Elissa Slotkin, Representative Jason Crow, Representative Maggie Goodlander, all on video, all coordinated, all telling troops they have a duty to refuse President Trump's order. Speaker Mike Johnson called it unprecedented. Deputy AG Todd Blanche announced investigation. Stephen Miller declared it insurrection without question. This is not political disagreement. This is an attempt to turn the military into a political weapon. And if it succeeds, the republic we know is vanished. And while everyone scrambles for Christmas gifts, I found something actually worth giving. C60 Evo. That's right, holiday gift sets, 40% off when you grab 6 bundles. Each set includes their advanced facial serum and breakthrough C60 Evo oil, known for energy, mental clarity, and recovery support. I take it myself every single day. You should too. And guess what? When you get this set, keep a couple sets for yourself, gift the rest. Premium gifts people actually want. This offer is not on their website. It's only for our audience. It's at c60evo.com/NNN. Grab the 6-set bundle at 40% off before they are gone. Now, my friends, it gets worse. Maggie Goodlander, one of the lawmakers in that video, just got exposed. A wedding photo surfaced showing her standing between Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton. The same intelligence circle accused of engineering color revolutions abroad. Now they're running the same playbook here. New Hampshire State Senate President Sharon Carson, a U.S. Army veteran, demanded Goodlander resign immediately. When reporters asked Crow 4 times what illegal orders Trump gave, he couldn't even name one. Not one. Because they're lying. And the entire operation just got caught on tape. And the outrage is vast. We have video from the press briefing today. President Trump's remarks. Everybody is freaking out. But this just in 60 minutes ago, a curious action.
A fire in one of the subway tunnels. No, the fake Biden did not get lost on top of the roof. Apparently there was a fire in one of the subway tunnels.
A fire in one of the subway tunnels at the U.S. Capitol. How interesting. Right on cue. Now, we've got reaction from Jason Crow to President Trump's remarks. Nancy Mace. J.B. Pritzker, even. Chris Murphy. Oh, this one's a doozy. President Trump had these words to say based on the video that those lawmakers put out. He called it seditious behavior, punishable by death. And then he retruthed this. This is what got everybody up in arms. Hang them. George Washington would. Tim Walz reacted. Earlier this year, Minnesota Speaker Melissa Hortman was murdered at gunpoint in an act of targeted political violence. We must never forget the horrifying consequences of unchecked violent rhetoric. Oh, we have not forgot, Mr. Walz. We have not forgot at all. Right? Look what they did to Charlie Kirk. Look what they attempted to do to President Trump in Butler and at Trump Doral. Yes, violent rhetoric incites people to violence. However, if you want, it's very, very simple. Seditious behavior, punishable by death. He's not calling for them to be killed. Not at all. Even Jason Crow. This morning, President Donald Trump threatened to have me arrested and executed. Okay, well, the key word here is arrested. You see, you would not be executed if there was no trial. And that's where due process comes into play. So he didn't call for your murder. He said to be arrested. And that's always the qualifier. I don't even know where to begin with this. J.B. Pritzker. To be clear, the president is calling for members of Congress to be put to death. Again, punishable by death. President Trump, this is really bad, dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. President Donald J. Trump. And he was, quote, truthing the Washington Examiner article, Democrat veterans in Congress urged service members to refuse unspecified lawful orders. There's a lot to unpack here. Representative Jim McGovern, we will not be intimidated. Jasmine Crockett. So we're going to Are we going to discuss that the sitting president called for the execution of sitting members of Congress? Do you know what happens if anyone else does that to him? Law enforcement shows up and locks him up. Again, arrest them first. Senator Mark Kelly, one of the individuals in the video, we're veterans and national security professionals who love this country and swore an oath to protect and defend the United States. The oath lasts a lifetime and we intend to keep it. No threat, no intimidation, or call for violence will deter us from that. Oh, yeah? Well, what did the press secretary have to say?
It's quite telling. If this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. If this were Republican...
And here's what's interesting about this whole moment. You see, in the press briefing room today, what happened? Nobody batted an eye at the message that was presented. They only were reacting to President Trump's posts on social media. They wanted to attack President Trump, but have nothing to say about those who are openly calling for defiance against President Trump's legal orders. Listen, here's more from the press secretary.
Accountable, and that every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
They should be held accountable, and that's what the president wants to see. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche wants to investigate the congressional Democrats who made the video encouraging members of the military and intelligence to defy the Trump administration. Oh boy. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche on the case.
Encourage young men. Well, the investigation would absolutely be under what their intent was in saying this. And the question, we've all watched this a lot today, and the question you have to ask yourself is, what is their intent? What is the reason that they all went on a video and encouraged young men and women to defy court orders without even giving a hint of what's illegal, without even giving any suggestion of what law or what order they're being asked to violate? You cannot do that in this country, especially if you're a leader. And so what does the investigation look like? I think they should be held to account. I think that those congressmen should be required to answer questions and to answer questions about why they did what they did. And the American people deserve that, and so does President Trump.
Investigate them all. Every single one of them. Hakeem Jeffries says Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut. Well, maybe you should keep your pocketbook shut from Jeffrey Epstein money. Statement by Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, Chair Aguilar on Donald Trump's death threats against Democrat members. Political violence has no place in America. I can agree. Representatives, blah, 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 blah. All served our country. We unequivocally condemn Trump's disgusting and dangerous death threats. They weren't death threats. Trump incited violent attacks on the Capitol on January 6th. No, that's another lie. That was Nancy Pelosi. Again, he goes back to January 6th. The president's violent and unhinged rhetoric against American patriots is consistent with documented history of attacking prisoners of war, blah, 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 blah. No bottom line, no bottom when it comes to Trump. We've all been in contact with the House Sergeant at Arms and the U.S. Capitol Police to ensure the safety of these members and their families. Yeah, like Trump's going to like just order hit squads on them. Here we have a fake news reporter getting cooked by the press secretary.
Caroline, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Actually,
every single
can refuse an illegal order, which
they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
They should be held accountable. And it looks like investigations might be underway. As we saw, Blanche, Deputy AG Blanche, wants to investigate the Democrats who made the video. What is their intent, right? Here's more from the press secretary.
This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These 3 members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Elissa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer. And notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
And perhaps it is punishable by law. So, Jason Crow, this morning, President Trump threatened to have me arrested and executed. What does he have to say?
A lifetime oath. This morning, President Donald Trump threatened to have me arrested and executed simply for reminding our service members of their oaths to follow the Constitution and to defend the rule of law. I've taken many oaths throughout my life, as a combat veteran, a paratrooper, an Army Ranger, and now as a member of Congress. That is a lifetime oath for me. I will never stop defending it and upholding that sacred obligation. It's very telling that President Trump and those around him think it's criminal simply for asking people to follow the law. This moment requires moral clarity. Every American...
Yeah, moral clarity. Perhaps you should have had some moral clarity before you made that post. Nancy Mace, President Trump is the duly elected commander-in-chief. This ongoing seditious conspiracy to undermine his authority is an act of war against the Constitution itself. They should be investigated and charged for violations of 18 U.S.C. 2387. Every tool of justice should be on the table. And this is a doozy. Chris Murphy. The president of the United States just called for the Democrat members of Congress to be executed. Hang them, he posted. If you're a person of influence in this country and you haven't picked a side, maybe it's time to pick an effing side. Oh, yeah? Can anyone say civil war?
If you are the president of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post. Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side.
Wow.
If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are at a very dangerous moment right now. The President is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence in this country.
Okay, to be clear, he's actually executing the law, following due process, arrest, judgment, and if the judgment calls for it, execution. That's what the law says.
This is a very slippery slope that we are on. This is a moment for people to step up, for Republicans to step up, for business leaders to step up. Anybody who has a voice or a soapbox in this country needs to draw a line in the sand and say that it is not acceptable for the President of the United States to call on the murder of his political opposition.
He's calling for the rule of law, Mr. Murphy. Oh, yes, we have more. We have so much more. Chuck Schumer is livid on the Senate floor after President Trump accused Democrats of demanding violent rebellion against him from the military and the CIA. Buckle up. Here's Chucky.
Members of Congress. Mr. President.
Democrat leaders recognized.
Earlier today, Donald Trump shared a post on Truth Social calling for Democratic members of Congress to be hanged. He also posted a message that said, seditious behavior, punishable by death. Let's be crystal clear. The President of the United States is calling for the execution of elected officials. This is an outright threat, and it's deadly serious. We have already seen what happens when Donald Trump tells his followers that his political opponents are enemies of the state. Every time Donald Trump posts things like this, he makes political violence more likely. None of us should tolerate this kind of behavior. We all remember what January 6th was like. We lived through January 6th. We have lived through the assassination and attempted assassinations this year. We have members whose families have had to flee their homes. When Donald Trump uses the language of execution and treason, some of his supporters may very well listen. He is lighting a match in a country soaked with political gasoline. Every senator, every representative, every American, regardless of party, should condemn this immediately and without qualification. Because if we don't draw a line here, there is no line left to draw. Who would have thought the President of the United States saying his opponents should be hanged? It's outrageous. No president has ever stooped as low as Donald Trump. None.
And no congressman's ever stooped as low as to tell the military to reject the commander-in-chief's lawful orders. Oh, yes, Scott Jennings unloading on Democrats and spy agencies for telling spy agencies and military to disobey Trump just because they don't like him.
A TV show where how is the president pitting the military against American citizens? I don't know what they mean by that. A, B, what are the illegal orders? What are they talking about? It's like they live in an alternate reality.
They do.
They live in a movie. They live in a TV show where something that's they claim is happening is not actually happening in reality. I don't know what illegal activity they're talking about, but I do know what illegal activity they're recommending. And they're trying to get people in the chain of command to disobey the commander in chief, which would be a Terrible
Well,
idea.
but they're saying don't obey legal orders, which is not
what orders.
Well, I don't know, but I didn't hear them advocate breaking the law.
Well, I mean, I think they're trying to influence members of the military to, start to determine all orders are illegal orders just because they don't like Donald Trump. That's the way I took it. I mean, what are they trying to foment insurrection in the ranks of the military? I mean, what are they doing?
They're saying if you're being asked to do something illegal, you can come forward.
What is it?
I don't know, but
one example.
I'd like to hear an example, but I don't understand why people are so upset by this.
Look,
they're not advocating anything illegal. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm just truly mystified because I've heard from like 20 people about this.
This goes to the core argument that Democrats have made for 10 years about Donald Trump. They've never gotten over it. He is the legitimately elected president of the United States. He was in 2016. He was in 2024. He is presently the legitimate commander-in-chief.
And he was in 2020, by the way. Donald Trump, Truth Social post, 9:17 a.m. Eastern time this morning. This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up. President Donald J. Trump. Lindsey Graham weighing in 24 hours ago. The hatred for Trump has gone too far. The senators and congressmen who made the video suggesting our men and women in the military do not have to follow unlawful orders yet have yet to show us an example.
Your chain of command. I was a military lawyer for 33 years. I was a prosecutor, defense attorney, and a military judge. And if you're listening to this program tonight, I find no evidence that President Trump or anyone in your chain of command has issued an unlawful order to you. To the people who made these accusations, I'm going to write you a letter tomorrow, and I want you to tell the country what orders you think are unlawful. What did President Trump do wrong as commander-in-chief? You owe that to the men and women of the military to be specific about what you're talking about. If you're in the military, you need to follow the lawful orders of your commanders. And Article 92, check it out. So what these senators and House members did was unnerving, and it was unconscionable to suggest that the President of the United States is issuing unlawful orders without giving an example. The hatred of Trump cannot spill over to putting our men and women in the military in jeopardy. You're going too far.
Don't worry, everybody. Lindsey Graham's going to write a letter. Representative Al Green, 7 hours ago, they write here on rapid response. Rep. Al Green and some other random geriatric misfits are currently on Capitol Hill ranting like depraved lunatics about impeaching President Trump. The freak show is back.
Lau, I'm here today because this is my watch. This is my watch. But it's also the watch of all of the people who are here with me. So in truth, this is our watch. Yes. This is our watch. Yes. And on our watch, we refuse to allow the demise of democracy. Yes. Not on our watch. On our watch, we refuse to allow liberty and justice for all to become a thing of the past. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. On our watch, we refuse to allow one person to dominate the House, the Senate, and the presidency in the United States of America. Not on our watch.
And that's not how it works there, buddy. Oh, and here we have Stephen Miller dropping the hammer on the insurrectionist Democrats who directed members of the military to defy orders. Stephen Miller, baby, let her rip.
Cross-examination. It is insurrection, plainly, directly, without question. And when you have one of the lawmakers on that video being unable to state in, as you say, lengthy cross-examination, a single so-called illegal order, it just proves the point. It's a general call for rebellion from the CIA and the armed services of the United States by Democrat lawmakers. saying that you have not only the right, but the duty and the obligation to defy orders of the commander-in-chief, that those who carry weapons in America's name should defy their chain of command and engage in open acts of insurrection, that the CIA, the clandestine service, which isn't even legally authorized to operate in the United States, should engage in, again, acts of rebellion and insurrection. These lawmakers should honestly resign in disgrace and never return to public office again for even daring to think, let alone to say these words and to say them proudly. But it shows what a dangerous moment we're in. We have seen the Democratic Party nurse the flames of violence and insurrection against the federal government for the last 10 months. When you see this continuous campaign of violence against ICE officers and Border Patrol agents, when you see Democrat sanctuary politicians and Democrat sanctuary governors side with the rioters, side with the assaulters over federal law enforcement, and that spills even into juries and grand juries, when you see Democrat jurors engage in nullification to let off violent attackers who are engaging in physical violence, physical assault against federal officers. This is a dangerous moment. You have a political party, an organization, the Democrat Party, and their message is that any action, no matter how unlawful, no matter how dangerous, no matter how much it threatens constitutional order, is justified if it keeps Democrat policies in effect at any cost.
So Trump didn't hold back. He declared this seditious behavior punishable by death and demanded each traitor be arrested and tried. The press tried to twist his words while ignoring the actual sedition Democrats just committed. You saw the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, destroying them, asking why they're not talking about the lawmakers inciting military defiance, right? This is the moment. Either Congress is held accountable for instructing troops to defy lawful orders, or the precedent is set that any part of power can weaponize the armed forces. Now, I want to get to one more point, if I may here, because I think I do have this. Here is the point when Jason Crow was asked about which specific illegal orders.
Hold or follow through with. What law are you talking about that's being broken? And then you said that he's implying that he might do something that they wouldn't want to uphold or follow through with in the future. What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, number one, the protests at Lafayette Square in the first Trump administration, where he said, "Can't you just shoot them? Can't you just shoot them in the legs or something?" That's his direct quote. And of course, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That was not a military order. That was a comment. That's not a military order.
When that's coming from the president.
It was a question
of the United States to your generals. Don't you think that's a request? That's
I'm
a question?
asking specifically
number two,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, number two, he's also threatened to send the military into Chicago and other cities to, quote, go to war with those cities. Right? That is a very, very disturbing thing. Number three, he's also alluded to sending troops to polling stations, which is actually a violation of U.S. law. U.S. criminal law prohibits troops from going to polling stations. And he's alluded to that. So those are just one of many examples.
You're talking about
Donald Trump
illusions. You're not
recently
talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that are members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs? No. Is that what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Right? As a military officer, what I think is important is we train people, we give them information, we prepare people for challenges coming down the pike. That is what I did as a commander in the military. That's what I'm doing now. As we are standing by our troops, we are reminding them of their obligation.
Order from the commander-in-chief that we are asking our military to carry out, are you objecting to? This is very, very vague. And it was so vague in this video, I don't think people could figure out what you guys were all talking about, honestly.
Martha, Donald Trump has made a series of very disturbing comments.
Yeah, and the most disturbing comments came from those congressmen. You see, this is not a partisan issue. This is about whether America remains a constitutional republic with civilian control of the military, or whether we descend into a system where lawmakers can fracture the chain of command whenever they lose an election. Democrats couldn't name a single illegal order. They couldn't provide evidence. And they recorded a sick video and deployed it like a psychological operation against the president. Representative Byron Donalds, he said, this is what desperation looks like when every other lever of power slips away. Lindsey Graham, usually cautious, admitted that the hatred of Trump has pushed Democrats into dangerous territory. The question now is whether justice will be served or whether this becomes the new normal. So do you think that these lawmakers should be held accountable for instructing military defiance? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to check out our merch shop, linked in the description. If you got value from this report, hit subscribe. We got a couple super chats that have just come through. Let's see what we got here. We got a Canadian $10 bill. Isaiah 11:3, and his delight shall be in the fear of Jehovah, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither decide after the hearing of his ears. Hillary Clinton runs the White House. That was not in the Bible. And then we have Steven dropping $5. Sheba dog bowing respectfully. Thank you, Steven. All right, we are now at $15 in super chats, but I guess if you adjust it for the exchange rate on Canada, we're probably about $10. Haha, that's a joke. They should be held accountable. Try them in the morning, carry out sentence in the evening. Absolutely. God bless Gary, Angie, Brian, Todd, Thomas, and Brett. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. We appreciate that. The whole team does. All right. Now we got to get into what is going on with the subpoenas. Bill and Hillary Clinton were subpoenaed by Congress to testify about their Jeffrey Epstein connection. They postponed, they delayed. Now House Oversight Chairman James Comer is threatening them with prison and contempt charges. You see, flight logs prove that Bill was on the Lolita Express multiple times. Financial records show Epstein bankrolled Virgin Island officials, and the same Democrats demanding transparency are the ones with the deepest Epstein ties. The subpoena showdown just reached a breaking point, and the Clintons are running out of places to hide. You see, this is about whether the most powerful political family in modern history will finally be held accountable. The Clintons have avoided answering Epstein questions on the record for years. Now Congress has the power to compel testimony under oath, and Comer is making it clear: testify or face consequences. If the Clintons can ignore congressional subpoenas without penalty, the entire oversight system is meaningless. And Stephen A. Miller warned Democrats that when Trump releases the full Epstein files, Larry Summers is just the first shoe to drop. Representative Debbie Dingell brought Epstein survivors to the House gallery during transparency debates, but her own colleagues are dodging depositions. This is the ultimate test of whether justice applies equally or whether political royalty remains untouchable. And now we have this breaking news. The Trump administration just released a document that could reshape mining under Executive Order 14241. The Palmer Project in Alaska, it was named a key asset for America's mineral independence, and Vizsla Copper acquired that project. $3.5 billion in-ground value containing copper, zinc, and silver, vital for our military and energy grid. Led by the team that propelled Vizsla Silver to $1 billion valuation, they now have explicit government backing. When other Alaskan miners got this support, shares shot up over 200%. Now, Vizsla trades as VCUFF in the United States, and it's worth a look. And thank you to Vizsla Copper for sponsoring today's show. You can find out more by clicking the link in the description. Now, here's where it gets explosive. Representative Stacey Plaskett, we've been talking about her for days now, who represents the Virgin Islands territory that Epstein used as his sick playground, is now under fire for her own connections. Reports show that she texted Epstein during the 2019 Michael Cohen hearing, Epstein paid college tuition for the children of Virgin Islands First Lady Cecile DeJong. Hakeem Jeffries, now dodging Comer's questions, took campaign cash from Epstein. Chairman Comer didn't hold back on the House floor, telling Jeffries to stop lying and own up to his campaign soliciting money from Epstein. The same people lecturing about accountability are the ones refusing to answer under oath. Bill and Hillary Clinton postponing their subpoena depositions before the House Oversight Committee that was scheduled for today.
Maxwell. I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
Hillary and Bill Clinton are postponing their depositions before the House Oversight Committee. They were subpoenaed to testify about their ties to Jeffrey Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Hillary's Thursday appearance and Bill's Tuesday slot got pushed back, but the subpoenas are still active. Congress is working with their lawyers to reschedule. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane at least 4 times for foundation work. A 2002 photo shows him getting a massage from an Epstein accuser on one of those trips, though she said he was a perfect gentleman. Less is known about Hillary, but Epstein donated to the White House renovations in 1993, and Maxwell attended Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010. Maxwell told DOJ officials Bill was her friend, not Epstein's, and he never visited Epstein's island.
I never went to the island.
Did you hear that little side note there?
From an Epstein accuser on one of those trips, though she said he was a perfect gentleman. Less is known about Hillary, but Epstein donated to the White House renovations in 1993.
Epstein donated to White House renovations in 1993. And they're freaking out about Trump's ballroom. How crazy. Illinois Review posting this just 24 hours ago. Epstein files backfire. Epstein was asked to donate on behalf of J.B. Pritzker's campaign years after his 2008 conviction for crimes against a minor. Oh, yeah. It's not just Hakeem Jeffries, my friends. It is also J.B. Pritzker. And if we get the page to load, we'll bring up the article. But it's not cooperating, so we'll just keep going. Here we have this. Oh, it gets worse for J.B. Pritzker and his family. In the 20,000 pages of documents, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Thomas Pritzker connect by email at least 20 times. In one exchange, Epstein writes, Pritzker, nice to see you. Please come more often. No wonder JB is going nuts. Jeffrey Epstein documents show relationship with his cousin Tom Pritzker. The Clintons referred to the DOJ following refusal to respond to subpoenas. And this famous quote, if I'm indicted, I'll take half of D.C. with me. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, we can jump to the House floor where Comer is trashing Hakeem Jeffries, excuse me. But I want to get to this. We played this the other day, but this is where Comer made it absolutely clear.
Now, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 very important people that you subpoenaed early on, that you asked to voluntarily cooperate. They didn't schedule their interviews. Now there's a subpoena. But Bill and Hillary Clinton, if they continue to duck you, will you take them to court? Will you try to enforce a subpoena? Will you go the Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro route?
100%. We're going to go that route. We expect to hear from Bill and Hillary Clinton. Look, Donald Trump's answered questions for years about Jeffrey Epstein. Every day he gets asked questions about Epstein, and he answers them in front of the American people. We've subpoenaed Republicans and Democrats. 2 Republicans have come forward, Bill Barr and Alex Acosta. They did interviews and deposition, and those were tough, but they did them. They didn't back down. Other Democrats have sent letters that saying they knew nothing about Epstein, which would hold in court if something ever comes out that they did know something, then they've committed perjury there. But the Clintons have never responded. They're the one group in this investigation that's never had to answer questions in front of a credible reporter, and they've never certainly answered questions from attorneys or members of Congress. So we expect the Clintons to come in, or I expect the Clintons to be met with the same fate that Bannon and Navarro were met with when the Democrats were in control.
And we all recall what happened. Here's Stephen A. Smith warning Democrat Larry Summers is the first shoe to drop over the Epstein files.
Words that came to my mind was he did something that I didn't see coming. He said, to hell with it, open the files. I'll sign to open the files. No problem. And the first words that came to my mind was, uh-oh. Because Donald Trump is not going to do that if it's going to be something that significantly hurts Donald Trump. He's going to do it if, dare I say, he's got something on other people. Because that is who we know him to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. There's no way around this. And sure enough, one of the first names that came out was Larry Summers, who worked as the Treasury Secretary under the Clinton administration, who worked on economic policies for Barack Obama, who was religiously associated with the left, who was still teaching at Harvard, and then ultimately had to step back and step away from public settings and things of that nature, scale back his role within the last 24 hours because he was one of the names that appeared in the Epstein files. He was somebody that knew Epstein. He was somebody that kept in constant contact with Epstein. He was somebody that Epstein had influenced and coaxed Epstein into donating millions upon millions of dollars to Harvard University. I mean, in excess of $9 million. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that was happening. And you found yourself saying, oh, damn. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what you should be thinking. It should be, oh, damn. Because that's just the first shoe to drop. Why is
that is just the first shoe to drop? Oh, the headlines, Hillary and Bill defy subpoena. Of course, these two low-life scumbags defy subpoenas. Now, what is the corrupt, gutless Congress going to do? Near tip to every Marxist scumbag who stays silent about how the Clintons skipped their subpoenaed congressional hearing to give testimony. Epstein will constantly calling Trump a pedo should go F themselves. Near tip writing that. President Trump, 23 hours ago on Truth Social. Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, as a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, minority leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after he was charged, and I'll include J.B. Pritzker here. The Post continues. Democratic Congresswoman Stacey, Plaskett, and more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Epstein will soon be revealed because I have signed the bill to release the Epstein files. As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass the bill in the House and Senate, respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of passage. In my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget the Biden. What does that mean? Do not forget the Biden. Interesting. So President Trump has signed the order. The Salty Goat writes, who thinks today is a good day to arrest Bill and Hillary Clinton for refusing to comply with a lawful subpoena? Adam Schiff posting on X, prosecution of those who refuse to comply with the lawful subpoena is vital to ensuring congressional oversight has teeth. Otherwise, Congress cannot function as the founders intended. The balance of power becomes unbalanced, and a corrupt executive can't be held to account. Oh, so even Adam Schiff believes that people should be prosecuted if they defy congressional subpoena. It's vital to the oversight's health. So, Bill and Hillary then? Epstein paid college tuition for the kids of former First Lady Cecile DeJong, the wife of the ex-governor John DeJong. Then Representative Stacey Plaskett, who repped the territory Epstein used as his playground, texted him during the 2019 Cohen hearing.
to a sex offender. Shocking new report in the Jeffrey Epstein saga reveals the convicted sex offender paid the college tuition of the kids of the former Virgin Islands First Lady, Cecile de Jong. This is according to court filings from JP Morgan. What's more, that same year, she consulted him on changes to a sex offender registration law.
This all comes as JP Morgan accused by the Virgin Islands of facilitating Epstein's alleged crimes. Additionally, there's some very interesting reporting. Stacey Plaskett, who's the delegate for the Virgin Islands to U.S. Congress, if her name is reminiscent to you, viewers who are hearing this, that's because she was the one who really grilled Schellenberger and Taibbi when so-called journalists.
Yeah.
Then she subsequently sent that letter when one of the acronyms had been flipped, and it didn't really fundamentally change anything about the Twitter files, but saying that, oh, because you perjured yourself, that's a crime and you could face 5 years in jail, that kind of thing. Taking this really weird posturing on the information the Twitter files had uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not exactly a fan of what she was going for there, but she is the delegate for the Virgin Islands. This also comes from the JP Morgan filings that in 2018, she was doing a campaign fundraiser, and she asked for Jeffrey Epstein to get an invitation. If you'd like to share this invitation with Jeffrey, I'd be much appreciative. I would be grateful for his support and the support of those he may direct to assist me. This is in July of 2018. We just looked this up. He was arrested about a year after that, in July of 2019. He then died or something in prison shortly thereafter. So this is not, we have criticized Bill Gates type people for still being associates of Jeffrey Epstein like a full decade before that.
Right.
This is at the point where Jeffrey Epstein is I think, on his way to becoming a household name for sex crimes against underage people. And she is hitting him up for money. She is proactive. It's not even that he showed up and then offered her money. She proactively says, make sure he comes to my fundraiser. At a time where not only should she have known, but everyone knows. That's crazy.
I think it's not a good look. Now, she says that she subsequently donated those donations to various charities and didn't hold on to the money. I do think, to your point, the fact of her willingness not to just to take money from him, but also just solicit money from him many years, a decade after he was.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they're still soliciting even after they knew exactly who he was. Let's jump over to the House floor where Chairman Comer dropping a nuke earlier today on Brooklyn Barack, a.k.a. Hakeem Jeffries.
And I've taken to the floor today to respond to Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling me a, quote, stone-cold liar during a press conference defending the recent discovery of Democrats' communication with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And I bring with me something that he and many of his fellow Democrats like Jamie Raskin, Jasmine Crockett, and Stacey Plaskett, apparently detest. And that is a thing called evidence. Tuesday, I gave a speech on the House floor detailing my House Oversight Committee's good work to date on our Epstein investigation. After all, Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrats in Congress, and your allies in the corporate media have been demanding a full release of the Epstein documents for months, including all the documents from the Epstein estate. So without hesitation, I subpoenaed all of the Jeffrey Epstein estate documents because I, as well as my Republican colleagues on the House Oversight Committee, we want to know what really happened, what went on, who was involved in these unspeakable crimes. We want justice for the survivors. That's why we're doing this investigation. So House Oversight obtained over 30,000 pages of documents from the estate. Unlike the Democrats, who only released 10 of those over 30,000 pages of documents, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee released every single document. on the website for the American people to see. Democrats and many in the media were anxiously clutching their pearls in anticipation of potential dirt on President Trump. In the end, after full transparency by the Republicans on the Oversight Committee, there was nothing new about the president's former relationship with Epstein, and certainly nothing scandalous. But we did find two sitting Democrat members of Congress had communication with Epstein. First, it's been highly reported and debated about Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett texting during an Oversight Committee hearing with Jeffrey Epstein while trying to conspire with him to hurt or embarrass Donald Trump. But according to Jamie Raskin, that was okay because Mr. Epstein was her constituent. Now, how embarrassing a rationale is that? But the second communication was this email right here, where Hakeem Jeffries' campaign reached out directly to Jeffrey Epstein, soliciting campaign dollars for the, quote, Brooklyn Barack. Now, whereas Jamie Raskin explained Plaskett's communication with Epstein as simply responding to a constituent, Hakeem Jeffries had a very different response when asked about it by the media. He denied its existence. Hakeem Jeffries said, Comer is a stone-cold liar. And then he reverted to calling me names for the second week in a row. So let's read it to make sure. To Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the real Jeffrey Epstein, not Jasmine Crockett's Jeffrey Epstein. This is the real Jeffrey Epstein. From Hakeem Jeffries' campaign. Dear Jeffrey, we are thrilled that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars of the New York delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack. Hakeem is committed to electing a Democrat majority in 2014 and is encouraging his friends to participate in a DCCC fundraising dinner with President Obama and Hakeem Jeffries. It ends with a number for Jeffrey Epstein to call to go to the dinner and, quote, get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. Here's the evidence. The email speaks for itself. The only stone-cold liar in this debate is Hakeem Jeffries. So, Mr. Minority Leader, take a deep breath, chill out, stop lying, stop with the juvenile name-calling, and own up to the fact that your campaign solicited campaign cash from Jeffrey Epstein. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back. I've taken to the floor today to respond
Hard
to Minority
to
Leader
deny
Hakeem.
the truth there. Right there now, it's all on the record, on the House floor. And it looks like we may finally see some justice. Epstein and the connections between Bill Clinton, the subpoenas they're dodging, but justice is coming. You see, the timeline is actually damning. October, subpoenas were issued. The Clintons postponed. November, public pressure mounts with warnings to testify or be arrested. Mid-November, Comer threatens prison and contempt charges. Late November, still no testimony, but the internet is on fire, demanding accountability. Even Newsweek is confirming that the threats from Comer are real. The Clintons have been backed into a corner, and for the first time in decades, the political shield around them is cracking. You see, Trump signed the bill to release the Epstein files, and that could really be the final blow. Now, for years, the Clintons skated on Epstein questions with vague denials and lawyer-crafted statements. Now they're under congressional subpoena. The evidence is piling up. Flight logs don't lie. Financial records don't lie. And the American people are done accepting excuses from the political elite. It's not about left or right. It's about whether we have one system of justice or two. If the Clintons can ignore subpoenas while ordinary Americans go to jail for contempt, the entire concept of equal justice collapses. Representative Comer is holding the line, but the question is whether Congress will follow through or whether this becomes another example of accountability theater. So the question for you is, do you think that Bill and Hillary Clinton should be held in contempt if they refuse to testify? Yes or no? Tell us in the comments. Check out the Next News merch shop in the description. If you got value from this segment, hit subscribe. All right. How about that, Brian? How about that? Yeah. While those clips were playing, we had a total computer failure. And I had to jump out of the seat and I had to go fix something. That was wild. So, Brian, if you want to send me a link to something that would be appropriate. Oh, you did already? Like, one of the computers we're using is so old. It's still running Windows 7. That's how old it is. Oh, man. It takes us back, right, Bri? Way back in the day. Do hashtag squee. $10 super chat. Hopefully those truculent members will be held accountable. Publicly, Americans are still here and we're pissed. Should be a patriotic holiday, fireworks, good food, and knowing evil got knocked back. Thank you. Do hashtag. Do you hashtag? Do hash. All right. And we got a new member, CP1699. And do you hashtag is back with $10? And he says, Bill and Hillary should be brought in by the marshals. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Okay, where are we going from here? Oh, hey, it's my boy, JR. JR making a cameo appearance on the Next News Network's Raw feed today. Lots to unpack today about what's happening in New York City. Staten Island specifically. All right. A New York City borough with 500,000 residents just took the first legislative steps towards full secession. Staten Island lawmakers introduced a bill and read a symbolic independence declaration in response to the election of Mayor Zohran Mamdani, a self-described democratic socialist. I mean, you know what that means, right? Communist. It's just code. And then Mamdani shocked everyone by requesting a meeting with President Trump. And Trump confirmed it's happening at the Oval Office, but the deeper you dig into Mamdani's endorsements and inner circle, the more alarming the story becomes. Now, Staten Island succeeds. It becomes the second largest city in New York State overnight. Now, this is not a symbolic protest. This is State Senator Andrew Lanza and Assemblyman Sam Pirozzolo introducing real legislation with real consequences. 2/3 of Staten Island voted for Trump in 2024. And they're watching Mamdani promise free healthcare, free housing, and a budget that doesn't add up. But the real concern is who Mamdani is surrounding himself with. He endorsed Aber Kawas, whose father was deported as an undocumented terrorist and who blamed America for 9/11. Videos show his interns describing his election as part of a jihad. An imam in his orbit proclaimed Islam will enter every house in New York. Staten Island residents are saying they will not be dragged into a People's Republic experiment. Now, before we continue, I want to speak directly to you, the people who make this show possible. This time of year, we reflect on how grateful we are for this community. None of this happens without your encouragement, your comments, and your support. And if you'd like to help us keep fighting and telling the truth the way only independent media can, we'd appreciate your support this holiday season at nnn.is/give. You'll see it on your screen. You'll see a link below. If you can't donate, share the video with somebody who needs to hear it. Text it to a friend. Post it in a Facebook group. The shares make a massive difference. We're thankful for you. We see you. We could not do this without you. Now, here's the twist that has everybody confused. Mamdani spent his campaign promising to Trump-proof New York City. He called Trump a threat to democracy. Then days after winning, he's requesting a sit-down with President to discuss affordability and safety. And actually, Trump confirmed the meeting for November 21st in the Oval Office. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt called Mamdani a communist on camera, saying it's telling that the Democrat Party elected a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the country. The ideological gap has never been wider, and Staten Island is watching this unfold in real time. Let's go now to the press secretary in the White House press briefing just a few hours ago.
Speaks volumes that tomorrow, I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House, because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself. I think I will just add.
It is now confirmed. President Trump making this post on Truth Social, 8:29 p.m. Eastern Time on the 19th. Communist Mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, has asked for a meeting. We've agreed that this meeting will take place in the Oval Office Friday, November 21st. Now confirmed. Here's the official post from the President of the United States. Chief Nerd posting Zohran Mamdani on his upcoming meeting with Trump. What does he expect to get out of it?
If you set a meeting up, it's a lot, right? To celebrate, but also take in the moment, and you're being pushed to have these meetings. One of them is with President Trump. I know you've said that you would like to meet with President Trump. How are those conversations going? Have you set a meeting up?
So we've reached out to set that meeting up. I don't have any more information on the dates or the time of it as yet, but I will be sure to share that as we do. And we reached out because we want to make the case for New Yorkers, and the fact that I'm looking to represent each one of those New Yorkers, and frankly, their ability to afford this city, to be safe in this city. A lot of it has to do with how the federal government approaches this city.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot, right?
And Trump has already said he's going to pull funding. Wait, what? Let's check out my friend J.R. Majewski. Check this out.
Isn't really left is trying to keep this shit a secret, but Zohran Mamdani has made a request to the White House to meet with President Trump to talk. Now, what he wants to talk about isn't really being released, but it sounds like he's concerned that Trump is going to unleash ICE and Department of Homeland Security into New York, which would probably hurt Mamdani and his plans for some of the things that he wants to do. Now, if you recall, Mamdani made almost the entirety of his campaign against Donald Trump. Rather than going after his opponents, he went after the president, which seems to be atypical of Democrats who want to achieve office. They, show their TDS on full display. But yeah, Mamdani, the commie, is wanting to meet the boss. Look, if they can work something out, good. Honestly, good. But at his core, he's an evil communist, and Trump knows that. So we'll see. Left.
Oh, it's going to be interesting when that meeting unfolds. Mamdani endorses activist-linked care, raising security concerns. Liberty One News, New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has quietly put his weight behind Aber Kawas, a Palestinian-American activist whose past comments on 9/11 and ties to influential individuals. And here we have this on Staten Island. Dorian Linder writes, good for Staten Island. All 5 boroughs, Staten Island would be the one Mamdani will tax. I hope they do succeed.
Liberals that, Staten Island just told Mamdani he could go F himself. Staten Island, out of the 5 boroughs of New York City, you have Manhattan, you have Brooklyn, you have the Bronx, you have Queens, and you have Staten Island. Staten Island is basically the only one that's considered conservative, Republican. The rest of them are clearly Democrat liberals that went out and voted for the Democrat socialist Mamdani to win the mayoral election, which is batshit, right? Obviously. But Staten Island, now that Mamdani has won, Staten Island's like, bro, listen, we're going to basically secede. They want to pull out of New York City altogether and be their own little thing. And it's a genius move. It tells everybody exactly how they feel politically, right? But it also shows that the people in charge in Staten Island care about the people of Staten Island, because when Mamdani is able to take office on January 1st, and if he's able to convince, Governor Hochul, whatever the crap Kathy's name is, to embark upon this, destroy New York City theme that he ran his entire campaign on, basically taxing the shit out of the rich, and then, in essence, forcing the rich to leave so that now the middle class will then get taxed so that they can then pay for the poor. But then the middle class is like, F this, and then they leave, and all you have left is the poor. Anyway, Staten Island's like, listen, we don't want our people leaving. We want the people to stay here, whether they're making $1 billion a year or $500 a year. We want them to be able to stay here in their homes where they've lived, where they love, and not have to worry about this socialist Muslim batshit dude coming through and destroying everything they've worked for just to give it away to people who don't deserve it, right? At the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. So Staten Island's like, listen, we're going to find a way to pull out of New York City. Fingers crossed that it works for them. Normally, I'm not part of the whole, we should secede from things, like when Texas wanted to secede, which is a hard word, from the United States. California talked about it for a while. Florida probably floated the idea for a second. It doesn't really give you the warm and fuzzies for your country when people are like, deuces, bro, right? But it does give me warm and fuzzies when Staten Islanders are like, we're not going to sit by and let this man ruin our lives. I love
Staten Island, getting ready, folks. Zoran, what's this? Zoran Mamscummy getting a warm welcome in Staten Island.
Comrade Mamdani getting booed out of Staten Island. Go home, they say.
It's the communist. Sorry, I want something to eat. I would like something to eat. You are not welcome in this island. Hey, Mr. Mamdani, can I talk to you? This is my island.
No, it's not.
You're not welcome here. You hate this country. You hate this island. Big shot full of Tom Holman. Don't go home.
And by that, they don't mean New York City. Comrade Mamdani getting booed out of Staten Island.
A brief look at what's next, because Staten Island voters are all in.
1,000 residents. So what would this independence ultimately mean? Well, with approximately 500,000 residents, Staten Island would instantly become the second largest city in New York State. It would basically be the size of Baltimore. It'd be bigger than Miami, Tampa, Oakland, Cleveland. It would need to create its own police force, its own fire department, its own education system. But don't think that that would necessarily cost taxpayers more. Multiple economic analyses have found that Staten Island secession would actually provide budget relief for them. Staten Islanders already contribute more in taxes than they receive in services. So they've essentially been subsidizing the other boroughs for decades. That would all come to an end with independence. So from this point forward, the process is more or less pretty straightforward. Grassroots support is already there. It's already been built, with rallies drawing tons of Staten Islanders signing petitions. Next comes the feasibility study and economic analysis. Then they'll probably have a non-binding referendum that would let Staten Island voters have their say. And finally, the state legislature, would need to approve a new city charter, and crucially, Governor Hochul and the legislature would have to sign off on that. And there is a wild card here. President Trump has already threatened to cut federal funding to New York City under Mamdani's leadership. A federal government supportive of Staten Island's independence could tip the scales dramatically in all of this. If Staten Island succeeds in this secession, it would set a precedent that could ripple across America. Again, the key here is that scaled secession, or de-annexation as it's called, is already happening. But with Staten Island going independent, conservative enclaves trapped in progressive-run cities across the nation would have a roadmap. The balance of power in urban America could fundamentally shift. In the meantime, Staten Island's message is clear. They refuse to subsidize socialism. They refuse to be silenced. And they're ready to become America's next great city, one that actually...
Oh, you believe that? The ripple effect across America. How many other states could use that roadmap? How many other cities? Oh, wow. Think about Illinois, right? Staten Island is preparing to declare independence from New York City. Here's Tim Pool.
Tax base. Staten Island is preparing to declare independence from New York City, and you gotta love it. The election of Zohran Mamdani is so divisive. People have been fleeing the city already. The tax base is being threatened. His plans make no sense, and Mamdani doesn't have the authority as mayor to do 90% of what he promised he would do. The only thing he can do is fire the police commissioner. He can't make buses free. Now, we've got Staten Island filing legislation to separate themselves from New York City to become their own city because, well, they call it the forgotten borough. Staten Island is largely conservative. They do not want to be a part of Mamdani's garbage and be taxed to pay people they don't think deserve that money. So they want to leave now. Could you imagine if they lose Staten Island? The amount of money they would lose, and they don't give it to Staten Island, it's going to be massive, and the backlash will be intense. I love seeing these polls from Democrats where they're all complaining about taxes being too high and then voting for people who keep saying raise taxes. This is where we are, unfortunately. So, baby, let's go. The New York Post reporting, let our people go. Zohran Mamdani victory spurs Staten Island polls to renew bid to pull out of New York City. And don't worry, there's more. New York and New Jersey lose hundreds of billions in resident income as Americans flee to low-tax states. Right now, New Jersey has the highest corporate tax rate. Mamdani wants New York to become the highest corporate tax rate. So all the companies just leave, you can tax nobody, and that spells the end of your city. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, from the New York Post. Let the rebellion begin. Leaders of New York City's forgotten borough and most conservative enclave are reintroducing stalled legislation for Staten Island to secede from what they fear will become the People's Republic of Mamdani. The Democratic Socialists could not be further out of sync with the values of communities like Staten Island, on Staten Island. And I'd argue that this time around, Democrats won't want to stop the borough secession because it would make it even less likely New York City ever elects a Republican mayor again, said State Senator Andrew Lanza, who told the Post he plans to put the foot to the pedal on the planet in January. I have warned of this. This is the geographic hyperpolarization I've talked about.
Oh, it's about to happen, dude. What they did when they elected that guy is just unleashed a freaking whirlwind. Mayor-elect Mamdani endorsing Abra Kawasa, a young activist with ties critics call deeply alarming. Her father deported as an undocumented terrorist. But I voted for Mamdani. Right? Of course. Here's Abra Kawasa saying 9/11 was America's fault because our system of capitalism, racism, white supremacy.
And finding that, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., have all, and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right, a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find like reprehensible.
Yeah, she just got Mandami's endorsement. Of course she did. Alex Jones, Zohran Mandami's interns explained electing him as part of a jihad holy war.
It's about, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and has an education and everything. It's just a question. We don't want to get doxxed, and we don't want to get suspended, and we don't want to get arrested. How gangsta are you? That's just my question. How much are you willing to do it? And I know everyone has their own risk levels, but at the end of the day, that's a question to ask ourselves. How committed am I to this? To what extent of my personal material gains am I willing to sacrifice for this bigger noble cause?
So know this, that Islam will enter every house. Every house. Don't worry about the Islamophobes. They can yap all they want. Their children will be Muslim. So Islam will enter every house. What's the question? Are me and you going to be a part of it? Are we going to take that become that sabab, that means, so that Allah puts all of that in your hisab? So you can be a part of this great victory that's coming, and wallahi, it's coming. It's coming in every house, in every country. Today here in Australia, subhanAllah, I'm sitting here in a masjid that we have people all the way out past the second place. Look at this. Who could have imagined these many Muslims in Australia? And it's not going to stop. You can stop immigration, you can stop whatever, you can do Muslim bans. Wallahi, it's not stopping. Because the Prophet ﷺ said it will enter every house.
By the way, hit pause on this punk. Alex Jones, hit pause on this punk. Yeah. That's the plan. Mandami is the tip of their spear. One of the most insane things ever heard a politician say. Zohran Mandami declares that New York is a city of international law. Last time I checked, I was pretty sure New York is an American city under U.S. law.
Looking to up. You said you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu based on the 2024 International Court arrest warrant. Next UN General Assembly, as mayor, would you do that?
So I've said time and again that I believe this is a city of international law, and being a city of international law means looking to uphold international law, and that means upholding the warrants from the International Criminal Court, whether they're for Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin. I think that that's critically important to showcase our values, and unlike Donald Trump, I'm someone who looks to exist within the confines of the laws that we have. So I will look to exhaust every legal possibility, not to create my own laws to do so.
On the other hand, this is also a world event. Does that not count a little bit?
Well, I think we are a global city, but I also think what New Yorkers are looking for is consistency in the way in which we talk about our values and follow through on them. And that's why I think these warrants from the International Criminal Court, they are worth fully exploring every legal possibility to actually follow through on.
You said what are you going to do? NYPD is going to storm the United Nations and arrest Netanyahu mid-speech? Good luck with that, buddy. A desperate Zohran Mandami stuns supporters by staging things can't actually be free, begging for even more money to fund his transition after $1 million has been raised. Every communist is a professional swindler. New Yorkers got scammed. He's asking for even more money now.
We have a lot. It's been 2 weeks since we won the election. We've been pretty busy.
Rejects the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani.
Too often, this is a time of just celebration as opposed to preparation. We want to make it both. A lot of these things are new, but one of them is pretty old, fundraising. But why are we fundraising? Well, we have less than 50 days until we take office, and we have a lot to do. We have to vet.
So why can't you just take people's money? Like, isn't that what communists do? Zohran Mandami plans to use $65 million to change children's genders.
And one of the things that we've said, beyond saying that we're going to make this a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA+ workers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA+ affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of work. And in this moment especially, if we want to fight the Trump administration, we have to do so by fully funding our own services, taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers and corporations here. And one of the things that
taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers and corporations. And that's why they're all going to flee. Meanwhile, this guy has raised over $1 million for his transition and then begs supporters for more money after admitting things can't actually be free. Every communist is a professional swindler, and New Yorkers just got scammed. Meanwhile, reports surfacing, Mamdani plans to allocate, as you saw, $65 million to gender transition services. And then another Mamdani-backed candidate declaring New York City, you saw him say it there, a city of international law. This is the full radical agenda unfolding, and Staten Island is done waiting. Now, this is what happens when ideology collides with reality. Staten Island is voting overwhelmingly for President Trump. They value law and order, fiscal responsibility, and American sovereignty. Mamdani presents the opposite. A communist vision funded by promises that collapse under scrutiny, backed by activists with troubling ties, and powered by rhetoric that rejects the very foundations of the country. The secession movement is not a tantrum. It's a legitimate response to a city government that no longer represents 500,000 people. If the state legislature takes this seriously, New York City, as we know it, could fracture permanently. And the Trump meeting will be fascinating to witness. Either Mamdani compromises his entire platform or he uses it as a photo op and changes nothing. My question for you, do you think Staten Island should be allowed to secede from New York City? Yes or no? Drop your answer below. Let's have a conversation. And check out the merch shop in our description. And if you value this report, hit subscribe. Okay, Do You hashtag has been dropping quite a few super chats here. Thank you for that. We're at $52.45. Do You hashtag. He writes $10 and he says, new Coliseum in New York, no deporting to CCOT, funds raised to families, and send Mamdani to treat the survivors of each round and feed them with his hands and money. Do You hashtag again? She said she was willing to fight, drag her by the yellow thing to the New York City Coliseum. Remember when she said her material things, the towers ideology. Thank you for that, Do You hashtag. Much appreciated for your support. Liberals are completely clueless. Yes, they are. I think tomorrow is going to be really interesting when that happens, when that meeting happens. So we've got some new news here on the insider trading scandals that are rocking Congress right now. Everyone's talking about it. Pelosi's retiring with a nice big bag of cash. Thank you, Stephen, for that super sticker. $10. Let's see here. Shocking revelation. Oh, yeah. Stock trading ban in Congress. This is huge. Okay. Nancy Pelosi just retired with a $270 million fortune. Richard Burr dumped up to $1.7 million in stocks after a classified COVID briefing and warned his brother-in-law before telling the public. Kelly Loeffler sold $3.1 million the same day she got pandemic intel. Representative Tim Burchett just exposed lawmakers giving no-bid contracts to military contractors and buying their stocks before awarding the deals, earning 500 to 600% returns. This is the biggest legalized corruption racket in American history, and both parties are guilty. See, 86% of Americans support banning congressional stock trading, the highest level of consensus on any political issue in modern history. But Congress keeps blocking it. Why? Because they're making a fortune. Apps like Autopilot exist solely to let regular investors mirror congressional trades because the scam is so profitable it can become a financial strategy. When asked if Congress should be banned from trading stocks, Pelosi's answer was one word: no. Their response became a rallying cry for millions of furious Americans who are done watching lawmakers get rich off crises they help create. If this is not stopped now, the message to every future congressperson is clear. Public service is a path to wealth. The people you represent are just marks in a rigged game. And while Congress was trading on inside information, we've got some breaking news that the Trump administration quietly released something major. Under Executive Order 14241, that's right, the Palmer Project in Alaska was named critical for America's mineral independence. Now, Vizsla Copper just acquired it, $3.5 billion in ground value, with copper, zinc, and silver essential for military and energy infrastructure. Now, this is the same team that built Vizsla Silver into a billion-dollar company. They've now got government backing. When other Alaskan miners got this treatment, shares jumped over 200%. Now, Vizsla trades under VCUFF in the United States, so check the link in the description for their investor presentation down below. So, Tim Burchett going nuclear. He said Congress isn't a swamp. A swamp is something cool that God created. This place is something worse. He said he's fixing to light some folks up over insider trading. The footage shows he's not bluffing. Representative Anna Paulina Luna backed him up, saying, if you want to trade stocks, go to Wall Street. President Trump already confirmed he supports banning congressional insider trading. Even Democrats are starting to crack. Christian Collins ran the numbers. Pelosi made $130 million on stock profits alone. Another pointed out, New Jersey just elected a governor who made $7 million trading stocks while in Congress and isn't even from the state. Here it is. This is Tim Burchett going off and just how bad insider stock trading is in D.C.
Thank you, Proud Paul. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brian. Somebody asked me if I was going to wear my jacket up there, and I said, to quote the immortal words of Henry Winkler when he played the Fonz, I always rumble in this jacket, because that's what we're up against. This is a fist fight, folks. Now, first, I guess I need to thank Chairman Stiles and the committee, the House Admin Administration Committee, for taking this up, because I realize what we're up against. I mean, this is, everybody talks about this place being a dadgum swamp. It's not a swamp. A swamp is something cool God created. It filters water. Animal life lives and flourishes around it. This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, for years, Congress has been using hardworking American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop. This place is crooked and is crooked as a dog's leg. That's an old East Tennessee saying, but it's the truth, and it needs to stop. America knows what's going on. We're in committee meetings. We hear things before y'all do. We can make those connections. When you see a member of this body making 400, 500, 600 trades a year, you know something's wrong. Everybody ought to do like I do. I got my buddy Tommy Siler who invested in my mutual fund. I ended up having to cash it out because my daughter's going to school. I'm not a wealthy man. But look, this thing is broken, and it needs to be fixed. And this is the right avenue to do it. And I want to say something. I'm going to get these guys mad at me, but I really don't care because they can't vote in my district. This thing ain't going to pass. If we're going to pass something in the House, and then guess what? The Senate will either, one, not take it up, or they'll come back in righteous indignation and say, oh, we need to make this stronger, something totally ridiculous, and they'll send it back to us. This is a scam that's being played on the American public, and it needs to stop. Let's quit with this nonsense. Let's give America a reason to trust Congress for once in our miserable lives. This is our chance to stand up and say, we hear what you're saying, America. We're going to fix this dadgum problem. But we probably won't do it. And I'll remain ticked off the rest of the day because of this. And it needs to stop. I want to thank all these folks, really. I joke around about it. You want to talk about something that, we all working together? Dadgummit, this is the issue. This is the issue where Democrats and Republicans. Dadgummit, if I can stand up here with these two. Yeah, these two. I mean, people back in East Tennessee are going, what in the heck's Burchett doing sitting next to Proud Paul, for goodness sakes? Well, I'm not going to beat her in her district, and she sure as heck ain't going to come down to East Tennessee and beat me. But this is an issue that America's united on. We ought to get behind this thing. You all in the press, it would make a hell of a lot of sense. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brian.
Dammit, right? You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. Let's keep going because let's go to, this is back in September of this year, but this clip looks like it's older with Tucker Carlson talking to Kelly Loeffler.
Tell us tonight, been very clear, unlike Senator Burr, as I said, who hasn't really explained how this happened, though I think it's pretty evident. You said right away, I didn't know this happened. I had nothing to do with it. I learned on February 16th. So can you tell us tonight who specifically made this decision to sell these equities, and why do you think they made that decision?
Well, Tucker, let me start at the beginning. When I was appointed to the Senate, what I did is I spent time with lawyers making sure I understood not only SEC requirements around being in the Senate, because I come from the private sector. I have 20 years of experience in financial services.
Right.
But I also spent time making sure I understood the Stock Act and the rules under the Senate Ethics Committee for how we perform our financial transactions. I decided that I was going to maintain the same posture that I had in the financial services industry, which was to have a third-party person that was a set of advisors that were fully charged and able to make these transactions on my own so that I did not have to be involved in any of the decision making around these financial transactions. And that worked very well in the private sector. It kept us from having to have concerns around insider trading. And that's what I maintained in the Senate. And that has allowed me to be able to work hard for the American people and focus on the things that I came here to Washington to do.
Okay, I understand that. Let me just back up, though, and ask you. So there, in the set of transactions that have become publicly available, there are 29, 27 of them, as we noted, were sell, 2 were buy. It was a pretty strong market at the time. A lot of people weren't doing what you did, and the stocks that were shed, some of them, not all, I mean, this is a mixed bag to some extent, but some of them were stocks that really got hammered. So I'm just wondering, I'm not accusing you of anything, but I'm wondering again, who specifically made that decision for you, and on what basis do you think?
So, Tucker, that would be the financial advisors that are charged with conducting trades in our portfolios, which we don't have a say over. And, you know, I think the most important thing is that I am informed only after those trades are made. I have nothing, you know, in terms of a say in what buys and sells are executed, what that timing is, and I'm only advised after it happens, almost concurrent with the public reporting that we do here.
Right. Been very clear.
But what does Representative Anna Paulina Luna have to say? We have the clip here. Here she is, 72 hours ago.
And this Congresswoman, you introduced a resolution earlier this year to advance the End Congressional Stock Trading Act. And this Wednesday, the House is going to hold a hearing on whether members of Congress should be allowed to trade stocks. Congresswoman, what do you expect we're going to hear on Wednesday?
Well, look, I can tell you that a majority of Americans, both Democrat, Republican, and Independent, do not support members of Congress being able to individually stock trade because of people like Nancy Pelosi, who made 17,000% returns on her investments. And on average, for members that do engage in stock trading, the average return is 600%. So I tell my colleagues, if you want to stock trade, go to Wall Street. But I think the hearing is going to repeat what we already know, and that there's a problem with it. Even the Speaker of the House will tell you that certain members have taken advantage and that there's insider trading and information. So proud to report the president has already made public statements that he supports banning the insider trading that currently happens in the House. I hope to do it. Now, obviously, I'm sure you can imagine it's made me wildly unpopular among my colleagues, but popular among the American people, which is what counts.
So it looks like this is going to finally come to an end. We'll see if it actually gets any legs in the in Congress. Congress, politicians should not be playing the stock market while making laws. Here's video of a congressman trading stocks actively on the floor. Stock trading ban for members of Congress received a hearing in the House today. Momentum behind the bipartisan effort has grown as lawmakers continue to push GOP leadership to allow a ban.
And Angela and
Well, some lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to ban members of Congress from trading stocks.
Yeah, and today members of the House held a hearing on this proposal. Washington correspondent Kristen Escow is live for us in D.C. Kristen, this is one of those few proposals where we see bipartisan support.
Well, that's right, Rod and Angela, and momentum for this legislation has been growing. Today's hearing was a significant step forward given that previous efforts to pass a ban like this have failed. Lawmakers from both parties argue it's way overdue.
We will get this done this Congress, mark my words.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers is pressing on with a bill to ban members of Congress from trading stocks, alleging that too many of them have an unfair advantage.
Members of Congress have access to all kinds of inside information that the average member of the public does not. So the opportunity for corruption is unacceptable.
This is a fist fight, folks. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop.
The Restore Trust in Congress Act received a hearing on Capitol Hill Wednesday. It would require members of Congress and close family members to divest from stocks within 6 months. Newly elected members would have 90 days. Lawmakers who violate the policy would have to pay a penalty of 10% of the investment's worth. Wow. Republican Brian Stile chairs the committee.
While rules already govern how public officials trade stocks, stronger restrictions may be necessary to restore public trust and ensure officials are not profiting from their positions.
President Trump has previously expressed support for a stock trading ban, as he told reporters in July.
Conceptually, I like it, and what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has faced criticism for her husband's stock trading, endorsed a ban earlier this year. Now, as for the current House Speaker, Mike Johnson has expressed support for a stock trading ban, but hasn't committed to putting a specific bill on the floor for a vote.
Like I said, we'll see if it actually comes to fruition. These members of Congress saw the biggest rise in stock portfolios in 2024. Richard Burr, Senate Intelligence Committee chairman, had the most access to classified information between January 24th and February 13th. He sold $628 million to $1.7 million in stocks. He even warned his brother-in-law at a private gathering, but said nothing publicly about the coming crash.
Asia. Selling stock shortly before the pandemic caused the markets to drop. KCAL 9's Amy Johnson has details.
Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina sold between $600,000 and $1.7 million worth of stock in late January and mid-February, about a week before the U.S. market started to slide and as lawmakers started to get daily briefings about the growing health crisis in Asia. The sales came around the same time that the Republican who chairs the Senate Intelligence Committee wrote an op-ed assuring Americans the U.S. was prepared to deal with the pandemic, and also spoke to a small group warning of severe consequences. On Twitter Thursday, Burr said Americans were already being warned and his message was to be prepared. Georgia's junior Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler, who is married to the New York Stock Exchange chairman, sold off hundreds of thousands of dollars in stocks starting in late January. On Twitter, she said her transactions were made by advisors and she wasn't even aware of them until weeks later.
Oh, my goodness. Nancy Pelosi made so much suspicious congressional wealth gains. Pelosi made millions on tech stocks before antitrust votes. Richard Burr sold millions before the crash. Kelly Loeffler dumped stocks the same day as her COVID briefing. A legal money-making scheme. Donald Trump's administration, not even going to play that. Let's see what we have here. New Jersey just elected a woman to the governorship who's not even from the state and who made $7 million in stock trading from Congress. November 6th, Pelosi officially retiring from Congress at age 85. During her time in public service, her net worth skyrocketed over $270 million.
7 years to make. Nancy Pelosi just made $3 million in 3 hours. That's 17 times her annual salary. She owns a $200,000 Porsche 911 and multiple estates worth over $5 million apiece. It would take you 27 years to make that much money. She is only in Congress to get rich, and she is very good at it. Nancy Pelosi just made $3
Oh, yeah. She's very good at it, isn't she? Here, Christian Collins. $130 million? That's how much Pelosi has earned in stock profits through her 38-year Congress reign. $130 million.
Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to the second one. We have a responsibility to report in the stock, on the stock, but I'm not familiar with that 5-month review, but if people aren't reporting, they should be.
Why should they be bigger?
Because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy, they should be able to participate in that.
Yeah, but you have inside knowledge, Nancy. Here we have more from Anna Paulina Luna.
If you want, that gives
on the PBD
Congress
podcast
such a bad reputation. If you wanted to know why the American people hate Congress so much, it's like, look no further than insider trading. Banning insider trading for members of Congress is one of the most bipartisan, popular issues in this country. And yet, when I informed the leadership that I was going to be doing, and actually did a press conference, I said, hey, I will give you to the end of September, which ironically enough, we're not in, there's a shutdown right now, so I couldn't bring it. But when we get back, we will be pushing for it. But I told them, I'm going to do it at the end of this month. They basically, in a group chat with me and Representative Burchett, someone said, you're forcing your colleagues to take a bad vote, and some people use this to pay for their kids' college education, and you're going to cost us the midterm elections, and this could hurt the republic.
This is a conservative saying this.
We're going to call them that. So, but all that to say that, for me specifically, when you're hearing that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? The founding fathers did not have stock portfolios. And by the way, they weren't schlepping it to Washington, D.C., and they weren't going to be there the entire time. This is not a long-term goal for them. But what it's become is it's evolved into this nasty machine where people do this full time and they have no issues insider trading and all that. I was like, I'm saving the republic. I'm not breaking it. What are you talking about? If you have, these invested portfolios that are going into the defense industry or the pharmaceutical industry, how would you ever be expected to advocate for those people, right? So this gets into, do we need campaign for that?
So yesterday, Congress held a hearing on banning stock trading. Okay? The admissions they've made, congressional trading is so profitable, it's spawned a tech industry. That should be the final nail in the coffin. But the establishment's fighting back hard. They know once this fails, their entire financial empire collapses. Burr, Loeffler, Pelosi, they all got caught. And the question now is whether pressure from voters, whistleblowers, even President Trump will be enough to force that change. So this is the clearest example of a rigged system in American politics. Lawmakers receive classified briefings on pandemics and wars, economic crashes, then trade on that information while telling the public everything's fine. They award contracts to companies and buy the stocks. They regulate industries and invest in them. And when confronted, they say banning it would be unfair. Unfair to who? Certainly not the American people who lose their savings while Congress gets richer. Representative Tim Burchett, he's right to be furious, and so is Anna Paulina Luna. So are the 86% of Americans demanding that this stops. If Congress won't pass a ban, voters need to make a litmus test in every single election. So do you support a total ban on congressional stock trading, yes or no? Let us know in the comments. And once you grab some Next News merch while you're at it, if this segment opened your eyes, tap subscribe. All right, we're at $67.45 in Super Chats. Thank you, everybody, for chipping in. Blah, blah. Dropping $5. Thank you for that. And we're going to be moving right along to our next topic. Big news. Okay, let's keep going. Wow. Where is this? Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel just stood together and dropped the indictment that reads like a Narcos script, except it's actually happening right now. 2 additional counts of witness tampering, intimidation, murder, money laundering, drug trafficking against international fugitive Ryan Wedding. The State Department raised the bounty on his head from $10 million to $15 million, making him one of the most hunted men on earth. And this is only the beginning of Trump's border war. Now, this is not about a cartel kingpin. This is about Trump deploying the full force and power of the Justice Department and ICE to dismantle drug networks from the top down and wipe out illegal immigration from the bottom up. Acting ICE Director Todd Blanche declared that they're achieving the president's goal, getting public safety threats out of American communities. Charlotte, North Carolina, they saw over 200 arrests in one weekend. Construction sites were abandoned overnight after Border Patrol agents flooded the region. Companies are under investigation for hiring illegals, and a Santa Maria ICE raid busted a labor recruiter charging up to $8,000 for fraudulent visas. The Supreme Court just handed Trump wartime powers under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, authorizing mass deportations of Tren de Aragua gang members. Yes, this is total warfare. Now, every year we scramble for Christmas gifts. Half the time we give people things they don't want. This year I found something actually useful, something I use myself and my family does every day. C60 Evo. Now they're offering holiday gift sets. 40% off when you grab 6 bundles, and each includes their advanced facial serum and breakthrough C60 Evo oil for energy, mental clarity, faster recovery, and inflammation support. Okay, a lot of people even they give it to their pets for mobility and longevity. So keep a couple sets for yourself and gift the rest. This offer is only for our audience at c60evo.com/NNN. Grab a 6-set bundle before they are gone. Now, the border war is everywhere. A 17-year-old illegal alien from Mexico was just arrested in Texas for hitting a woman in the skull with a hammer to kidnap and do unspeakable things to her while she was jogging. Biden's DHS released him back into the community back in 2024 after his previous arrest. Senator Ted Cruz is celebrating a major Supreme Court victory, reviewing the Ninth Court ruling that created an entitlement for illegal crossings. In North Carolina, wait till you see this, a church-run nonprofit training people to help criminal illegals avoid deportation. Hundreds showed up. Durham activists are practicing anti-ICE chants. This is organized obstruction of federal law enforcement, and we have the receipts. Let's go to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel in that briefing.
Today we're unsealing a new indictment, charging Wedding with 2 additional counts of witness tampering and intimidation, murder, money laundering, and drug trafficking. The website that was used to hunt down this witness and his wife, that has since been removed. That has been deleted. Protecting federal witnesses from retaliation is core to the department's mission. It's about individual safety, but more, it's about protecting the rule of law itself. The new indictment also includes several other individuals involved in the murder of the witness and other crimes in connection with this criminal enterprise. You're going to be hearing more about that from the people behind me. We're working very closely with our partners at the State Department and the Department of Treasury. The State Department has raised the reward for Ryan Wedding from $10 million to $15 million. We're offering $2 million rewards for information leading to the arrest of those involved in the murder of the witness. Today, we're unsealing.
Wow. Here's Acting ICE Director Todd Blanche. We are going to keep on going.
Border Patrol, CBP. We're going to keep going. We're going to achieve the president's goal of what he promised the American people. We're getting these public safety threats out of our communities, right? So I applaud Border Patrol. They're doing a great job with all the protesters that they have there. But to your point, Griff, we're seeing it nationwide. the political rhetoric that's out there that's calling for attacks on the men and women of ICE, Border Patrol, CBP, and our other federal partners has to stop. The ramming incidents are getting out of hand. That's a lethal force situation. They're using a 2-ton vehicle to either strike officers, block their vehicles. It just has to stop. We're going to keep going.
But over in Durham, they're practicing.
For everyone that you detain, for everyone that you detain, 1,000 rise and break the chain, 1,000 rise and break the chain. For everyone that you detain, for everyone that you detain, 1,000 rise and break the chain. For everyone that you
defending what? People who break the law? Investigators allege labor recruiter named Jorge Vasquez collected illegal fees, in one case up to $8,000, including $1,000 upfront deposit in exchange for the opportunity to work in the U.S. under H-2A visas. 4 arrested in a Santa Monica ICE raid. KSBY. Dozens of construction sites in North Carolina deserted now that President Trump deployed border agents to the region. No one's showing up to work. Because there's that many illegals? Wow. That is absolutely insane. Across Charlotte, more than 200 illegals arrested since the crackdown began over the weekend.
Across Charlotte, more than 200 people have been arrested since the crackdown began over the weekend. Local officials and Democrats slamming the actions, while North Carolina's Republican Party praised the enforcement. It's being dubbed Operation Charlotte's Web and spearheaded by U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Regardless of Republican or Democratic city, we're going to enforce the laws across this country.
We're going to enforce the laws, baby. It's happening all across the country. Here's Kash Patel.
Drug kingpin and evade the law. Make no mistake about it. Ryan Wedding is a modern-day iteration of Pablo Escobar. He's a modern-day iteration of El Chapo Guzman. This Justice Department and this FBI will work with our Canadian counterparts and the government officials across the world to bring him to justice. He is responsible for engineering a narco-trafficking and narco-terrorism program that we have not seen in a long time. He will not evade justice. We are here today because this Department of Justice, behind Attorney General's brilliant leadership and the Deputy Attorney General, have made it clear to the American people with the indictments they have brought that law enforcement and agencies like this FBI will lead the effort to go out there and make sure these animals are brought to justice. And that's exactly what we will do. This step, this interagency step, is a huge, huge step towards obtaining justice for so many American lives lost and so many American lives saved, thanks to the courageous efforts of law enforcement. This is what a great team looks like, working together for the American people under the motto that President Trump set forth to make America safe again. It's incredibly humbling for this FBI to be a part of it and to lead out the efforts on Ryan Wedding. And for those of you out there that have any information on Ryan Wedding, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to help us. This FBI has always engaged the public around the world for their assistance in bringing some of the world's most dangerous criminals and terrorists to justice. And we are doing so again today. He will not evade justice. He will not evade our capture. He will not evade arrest, and he will not evade prosecution. Because of the Attorney General's leadership here today, we are taking a huge, huge step in that direction. And I'm honored to be a part of this FBI and leading its men and women in law enforcement on a daily basis. It's really one of the best things I've ever encountered. And the teamwork is something I just want to stress more than anything. Our federal, state, and local partners have bonded together like never before to bring you these results that we've talked about these last 8-9 months. And today,
now, can we at least get the answers on that J6 pipe bomb thing, dude? Thanks. Appreciate it. This industry is packed full of non-English speaking drivers. The trucking industry.
Flex Logistics. This driver came up to me, asking me a question. Truck number 63, Flex Logistics out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Tell me why he can't speak a lick of English. I mean, hardly at all. Like, not even broken English. And tell me why he's driving a damn semi-truck and has his CDL. What are we doing, DOT? Y'all have got to get a control on this.
Out of control is what it is. In a stunning 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court handed President Trump sweeping wartime powers.
The alien enemies. Now we have a Fox News alert. The Supreme Court just cleared the way for Trump to deport illegals even faster. The High Court ruled that Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to send Venezuelan gangbangers to a mega prison in El Salvador. This is a huge ruling in Trump's favor and a major win for the country. After, as you know, D.C. Judge James Boasberg ordered a stop to the deportations. So this is pretty significant. These deportations, Caroline, can keep going.
This is a massive legal victory, Jesse, a massive victory for law and order and for our constitutional republic and the sovereignty of the United States of America. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil. We have always maintained the position at the White House that the president was well within his constitutional authority to do so. And this decision proves that President Trump and our administration have always been right from the beginning. He will continue to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to remove foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members, vicious gang members from American communities. And because of this ruling, the United States of America is a much safer place. Our team will get to work tomorrow to deport these heinous, violent foreign terrorists from our neighborhoods.
And you had another couple critical wins in the court with regard to DOJ. Tell us about those. That seems to be making progress.
Yes, absolutely. There have been many wins that the mainstream media has failed to cover, particularly over the weekend. The Supreme Court also ruled that the president does, in fact, have the authority over federal funding, that he can dictate what funds can go out the door and what can't, so long as they are part of the executive branch. So we have always, again, maintained that every executive order the president has signed, every executive action that he has taken has been well within his executive authority. And DOJ is doing a tremendous job at cutting back at the waste and the fraud and the abuse that have been ripping off American taxpayers, that have not been aligned with our interests here in our country. So
you saw the FBI Director Kash Patel. You don't get to be a drug kingpin and evade law. The Justice Department and the FBI are working with Canadian counterparts and governments across the world to bring Wedding to justice. The $15 million bounty is a message. Run, hide, change your name, cross borders, doesn't matter. Trump's DOJ is coming, and while they hunt Wedding at the top, ICE is dismantling the network at street level. Charlotte went from sanctuary rhetoric to ghost town construction sites in just 48 hours. So this is the Trump doctrine in motion. Find the kingpins, crush the networks, deport the army, shut down the pipelines, and restore the rule of law. For years, the border was just a turnstile. Cartels operated with impunity. Criminals were released back into communities. Democrats called ICE terrorists while defending illegal aliens over American citizens. Now the hammer is coming down. Ryan Wedding's $15 million bounty is only the beginning. Every cartel operative, every smuggler, every criminal alien in this country is on notice. The days of catch and release are over. The days of sanctuary cities shielding violent offenders are over. Americans are safer today than we were 6 months ago, and it's because this administration is doing what it promised. So do you support Trump's ICE crackdown and cartel manhunt? Yes or no? Comment below. And check out our merch shop in the description. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. Let's see. Another one from Do Hashtag. Do you hashtag? Thank you. Go, Tim, go. No more Brandon. Ban them. Another one from Do Hashtag. So that means no Coliseum in New York. $77 today. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Now, 5 stories, 1 theme. The establishment's collapsing under the weight of its own corruption, and the American people are watching it happen in real time. Democrats released a coordinated video instructing U.S. troops to defy President Trump's orders. They couldn't even name a single illegal order. They couldn't even provide evidence. They just recorded a sick psychological operation and hoped the military would fracture. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt called it sedition. Speaker Mike Johnson called it unprecedented. Deputy AG Todd Blanche announced investigation. Trump demanding arrests. This is the moment the constitutional crisis stopped being theoretical and became documented reality. Either these lawmakers are held accountable, or the precedent is set that Congress can weaponize the armed forces whenever it loses power. Bill and Hillary Clinton, subpoenaed by Congress to testify about Epstein. They postponed, they delayed. Now the House Oversight Chairman, James Comer, is threatening prison and contempt. Flight logs don't lie. Financial records don't lie. The same Democrats demanding transparency, Stacey, Plaskett, Hakeem, Jeffries, J.B. Pritzker, they're the ones with Epstein cash in their campaign accounts and texts on their phones. Stephen A. Smith warning that when Trump releases the files, Larry Summers is just the first shoe to drop. The Clintons are running out of the room faster than they can. And for the first time in decades, accountability might actually happen. And then Staten Island, introducing secession legislation because Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani represents everything they voted against. The self-described socialist, backed by activists with radical ties, interns talking about jihad, and imam proclaiming Islam will enter every house in New York. Then Mamdani requested a meeting with Trump. Trump says yes. So tomorrow at the Oval Office, the most conservative president in modern history sits down with a communist mayor. The optics are insane and the stakes are existential. And Staten Island is watching to see if they need to file for independence. And Congress just got exposed for running the biggest insider trading scam in American history. Nancy Pelosi retired with $270 million. Richard Burr warned his brother-in-law before the public. Kelly Loeffler dumped millions after classified briefings. Tim Burchett revealed lawmakers give no-bid contracts to military contractors, then buy the stocks before awarding the deals. 86% of Americans want this banned, and Trump supports it. The only question is whether Congress will stop enriching itself or whether voters will have to force the issue. And finally, Trump's DOJ just put a $15 million bounty on a cartel kingpin, Ryan Wedding, while ICE arrests over 200 illegal aliens in Charlotte in one weekend. Construction sites are abandoned. Companies under investigation. A Supreme Court ruling authorizing mass deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. My friends, this is the Trump doctrine. Find the kingpins, crush the networks, deport the threats, and restore law. This is what the swamp looks like when it is being drained. Yes, it's messy, it's loud, it's furious, but it's happening. So thank you to everybody who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight. You guys keep the show alive, and if you got value from this episode, tell your friends, share the link, or grab some gear from our merch shop to support independent media. Thank you for joining us on the Raw Feed, and we'll see you on the next show tomorrow.